Hello and welcome to another episode of Alpha Audio. Today we're in the server room again, as usual. Not really as usual, but we're here quite often. But today we have a very cool experiment, and it's all about connecting your ROON Rock server directly, so without a switch, to your streamer. Check it out. Now, before we go any further, you need to know at least 3 things. And we'll mention them and then we'll go further into this video with the screen capture part and all the stuff you need to know. But before you go into all this and implement this in your own ROON network, you need to know at least 3 things. First, you need a ROON Rock server, of course. But then you need a ROON Rock server with at least 2 Ethernet ports. So 2 of these. Because one needs to be connected to the internet or to your home network to control it with either a laptop or a smartphone, of course, and the other one needs to be connected directly to your streamer. So you need 2 of these ports at least. Then you need a ROON endpoint or a ROON streamer, which you can configure, at least the networking part, because you need to put in a static IP address. And no DHCP or anything, you need to put in your own IP address to connect it directly to the ROON server. Now, there were some guides online, but we couldn't find a really good one to do this. So we made our own one and we did some puzzling, and in the end it worked. We didn't listen to it yet, so don't expect a full review on the differences in sound quality, but we guess it will be at least a little bit better because you have less equipment between your ROON server and your ROON endpoint. Now, please don't start about data loss or IP protocols that are very robust. We know IP is very robust and there is no data loss. Either you put in 1, 2, 3 or 10 switches or you connect it directly. But it's all about lowering the noise and lowering the complexity of the network. So that's our goal, and we guess in the end it will sound a little bit better than using switches. So let's get started. First, we're gonna need to configure the ROON Rock server. So we go to settings in the ROON software, and in the general tab you find the IP address of your ROON Rock server. In our case it's 192.168.3.254. We have 3 Ethernet interfaces, but that's due to the fact that we placed an extra Ethernet card with 2 interfaces. We're gonna configure the second interface, enable it, put it to a static IP and type in an IP address that's different from the main interface, otherwise it doesn't work, so it has to be in a different subnet. You can see we used as a gateway the main gateway, and for DNS you can use anything. You can use Cloudflare, it's 1.1.1.1 or 1.0.0.1, or you can use your router IP as a DNS server. It will work. If you set this, you're finished in a ROON Rock server. We have to disable the third Ethernet interface because it's not configured. And after that you can restart or reboot your ROON server. So now it's time for the streamer. You can find the streamer IP if you click on the zone and then go to the configuration tab, and you can see the IP address of your streamer. It's 3.35 in our case. So we type that in the browser and then we can configure the network interface. Well, if your streamer doesn't have an interface, I don't think it's gonna work. We put our Ethernet interface to static, type in an IP that's in the same subnet, so our will end on 101, and as a gateway you can use the IP address of the Ethernet interface you just configured in the ROON Rock server, so that's 100.100. You can apply the settings and then it will work already, and we'll show you with the Hermes, because we configured that one earlier. It has 100.101, we'll show that now. And it's playing happily. So if you set this, you're finished. Well, what happens if you configured everything but you need to access the streamer anyway? Well, in our case we use Windows. You go to the network card So you connect your streamer directly to your laptop, and then you go to the network settings in Windows. You can see it right here. Then you go to properties, and then you go to the IPv4 section. You choose it to configure it manually, but you need to remember you have to put your laptop in the same subnet as your streamer. So in our case it's 192.168.100.102. Subnet mask is basic, and then you can type in the subnet masker or the gateway, sorry, of your streamer. So it's 100.101. Doesn't need to configure it like that, but it's safer. And we put in a random DNS server. So now it will say, hey, I found a network. Do you need to do some basic settings? Yes. You can close it, and now you can type in the IP address of your streamer. So it's 100.101 in the end. And you will see we can enter the GUI. There it is. So now you can adjust some stuff and reboot it, whatever you want. We hope you liked this video and that you learned some stuff. We think it's always a lot of fun to do stuff differently and try to optimize the whole chain to make stuff sound better. There will be a full review, and if we can compare apples to apples, we'll definitely do that and try the direct connection and the normal connection with switches and fiber converters. But first we need to implement a comparable networking system to compare the direct connection to the normal connection. But to be continued. If you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe. We always like that, and hope to see you next time.